Hello and welcome to another bonus episode of Half Hour Mentor with me, Ian Cleverden. If you've tuned into this series, you'll have heard me ask some quick-fire questions of my guests, usually about 5, and none of which they had any idea about before we did the main interview recording. They were told that they could think about their answer as long as they wanted, but that silence gap would be the only edit in my broadcast. Once they started speaking, you hear the unedited response. Today, it's million-selling crime novelist Simon McCleave. He actually shares with us, through these answers, even more of his writing techniques. Let's have a listen. Question 1. In your opinion, what makes a great book?
For me, it's about great characters that you want to find out about and see how their journeys go. It's about a well-structured narrative that keeps you engaged, and something, for me, also a little bit about an exploration of the human, sort of the nature of being a human being, I think is important for me, rather than sort of surface level a story.
Plot your storyline carefully, or write and see what happens?
Both. So start with the end. I mean, I'm very good at 3-act structure, so I kind of I know when turning points have to happen. Understand. I always know the beginning. I always know the end. So that's all plotted out. And the middle bit, I sort of go and have a bit of an exploration to see quite how we get there. So it's definitely a hybrid writer.
What do you think is the best book ever written, and why?
Wow. My favourite book, and I suppose therefore I think it's a great book, is My Dark Places by James Ellroy, which is he was commissioned by GQ magazine to investigate. His mother was murdered in the 50s, and he started to investigate it with a retired LAPD cop. And they basically tried to solve the mystery, but he also writes about it in his sort of style. And so the whole book becomes an exploration of him into his soul, into his past, into his mother. And it's an incredibly powerful book. And yeah, it's the best book I've ever read. So I'm going to say that.
What do you think is the best song ever written, and why?
If it was me, I'm going for If I Can Dream by Elvis Presley, which is a sort of heartfelt white soul song about peace and human rights. And I don't know, I'm a bit of an Elvis bore, but for me, that was the song that, I can listen to, again and again and again. It's like raw emotion and an incredibly sort of powerful sentiment.
Last question. What's your favourite way of triggering an idea for a storyline?
Running. When I run, my mind clears and ideas pop into my head. And so later on today, I'll go for a run with the next few scenes that I'm going to write. And they start to kind of move around and jumble. And by the time I get back, I know what I'm writing.
I must admit to having enjoyed putting Simon through those questions. Heaven knows he's kept me from sleep some nights as I've become so immersed in his roller coaster storylines. If you're not familiar with Simon's books, do go and explore them. Links to his website and Amazon Bookshop are in the show notes to this bonus episode. In order to help you, he has 2 series, the D.I. Ruth Hunter series, the first book being the Snowdonia killings, and the Anglesey series featuring D.I. Laura Hart, the first being The Dark Tide. I should make it clear that I'm not being sponsored for this episode, nor the interview with Simon. I'm just a fan of his work, having read all of his books to date. As I produce the podcast series myself, I get to choose my guests, and therefore purely wrote to him asking if he'd like to come on and share his career journey with us. I'm absolutely delighted he said yes, and I hope you found it informative and entertaining. If you came to this episode first, do go back and listen to the main episode that's already out. You only need to spare 30 minutes or so. Do also let me know if you'd like to hear from specific experts in their creative field, or perhaps you'd like to share your own journey. My contact details are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye for now.